You're watching the Oneness of the Quilt, live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. Hi, our viewers. This is Madam A.S. Inaglack, High Priestess Lioness. I'm coming to you today, and I think we are going to have an interesting topic. It's one that has been on my mind and the mind of some of our viewers. Particularly, we have, again, I mentioned her last week, Mama Loretta Yancey. She is a community activist, and the highlight of her day, she was a Black Panther. She has done a lot for community. And one of the things she wanted us to talk about today is about voting. You know, where are we? And that takes us back to what our second show talked about. We were talking about Kwanzaa, and remember Kwanzaa has an order, but Madam A.S. Inaglack, High Priestess Lioness, kind of had a little different order. So after Unity, we want to talk about collective work and responsibility. So as I see it, Mama Yancey is bringing up about collective work and responsibility. And that goes back to our freedoms. This is Black History Month. We're in our third week. This is our fifth show. And one of the things this show is about is voting an illusion. So we have people who are undecided about voting and who are pro-voting. We have to remember in our civil rights movement how we fought to vote. Those people who made our ancestors and some people still alive today who made a sacrifice for us to have that ability to vote. And so we want to talk about that. Is voting an illusion? And so we come up with what is an illusion. We need to start there. I really believe in having standards and being on the same page. So what is an illusion? An illusion is something like an oasis. We think we see something or we understand something, but it's illusionary. It doesn't perform how it's supposed to perform, like a mirage. That's what I meant to say. So out in the desert, we may see water, but there's really no water. We are having an illusion. So a hallusion is something almost like you may go to a psychiatrist and he may ask you, are you seeing things? What does that really mean? Even in that language, what does a psychiatrist mean? Are you seeing things? Yeah. You're seeing me right now. So if we take that literally, yes, we are seeing things. But what the psychiatrist is trying to ask, are you seeing things that other people are not seeing? A hallucination or hearing things. So that's kind of the background or the backdrop. What is an illusion? So we vote, and I think it's illusionary to think that's where everything stops. I vote, and everything is just supposed to flow the way I want it. And that goes into communication. And remember, we talked about communication. And communication, I believe, was linked to the seventh principle of Kwanzaa that I felt the way it should go is cooperative economics. So we are expecting, yes, that's right, communications. I had that with cooperative economics. I am expecting Sam Wabo. He might have gotten delayed. We've had snow here in the Detroit metropolitan area, and so I'm not sure, but we're going to proceed on with this. And so we had mapped out today's show. So I'm going to have to put it together to in both respects of kind of asking the question and then answering it. Typically, how the show is operating is Sam Wabo is here, and we're kind of doing this, building this bridge while we're on it together, which I love. But, sometimes we have to go solo, and it's no problem for that. So after we get out of this, is it illusionary? And I just want to say, because we have so many people in our community that says it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Voting doesn't work. So we have to look at what are our expectations. What is the responsibility? When we talk about civic engagement, is voting the only path forward that works? Or is it more like a puzzle? Because as we know, I just want to give some credibility, for myself, here, Sam Wabo. Okay. So while he's coming in and getting set up, I just want to give a little credibility about political science, because that's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about voting.
Okay.
I have a background in public administration, which allowed me to teach introductory political science at Oakland Community College.
Oh, okay.
I did very well. I had great connectability with my students. And also I have founded a nonprofit, Talbia Inc., which we have our website up. We've been rolling for about 8 years now. And we are a social science organization dealing with cultural planning, civic engagement, food pantry, and housing repairs. And we also, within the cultural planning, we have a think tank. And we're going to talk a little bit about that a little later on. But I want to welcome, if you can introduce...
Sam Wabo.
All right. Yes. So we just got talking, Sam Wabo, about is voting an illusion?
Is it an illusion?
Yeah, what is an illusion?
Okay, well.
I kind of gave my stance of what I thought an illusion was. I brought up a mirage.
A mirage. I mean, it's there's a distinction between an illusion and reality. And I think when you get into the absence of a reality, you get into something that's unreal. And it appears to be one thing, and it ends up being another. I think you used the example earlier that it's like a mirage. A mirage. Like you look down further, what you're really seeing is the interacting of the heat reflecting off the ground that gives the appearance to be water, and you're out on the desert and you say, oh, water, and you'll go endlessly in that direction because it's not real.
It's not real.
It's the appearance of.
It's the appearance of.
I remember when I worked with the government, they were very concerned about that phrase, the appearance of. They'll say, even if it's not true, if it just looks bad, and the same thing in the media. If it just looks bad, it gives the appearance of, and they were more concerned about the appearance of, at least some things there. I guess when it comes down to equality, things like that, it creates the appearance of uh, equal rights and equal privileges and equal access, but it turns out to be an illusion.
Okay. And I talked about how we had different sectors of the community. Like I mentioned, Mama Loretta Yancey, who really believes in voting and what it can do for community. And then I've encountered a lot of people out of more science that really want nothing to do with the government. And that's a heavy weight on our community. Because how do we involve ourselves in this participatory process when many people come from this thought pattern that it's an illusion?
Okay, well,
or is it that we don't understand the system
yeah.
in which we are trying to derive our rights and benefits from?
Right. Well, I'm saying we've been trying to understand the system since Reconstruction. Right, ever since black people weren't allowed to participate in Congress, at least as representatives, and they've never really participated on the level of a senator. It's something mystical about the qualification for a senator. Every senator that we get have a very brief, occupancy of that office, like Obama. Well, he pops in and he pops out. Doesn't really get a chance to work as a senator and impact anything as a senator. And plus, his presence is irrelevant because of the numbers. It's like the relevance of black people in the economy in terms of their participation in the wealth. It's always been irrelevant. 1%. It's not relevant. It's been during slavery, black people had 1% of the wealth. And so here it is, 2022, black people have 1% of the wealth. So.
Yeah, but I must say, because I'm just gonna be an advocate for the other side. We had, Jews were once really despised in this country. They were put in areas like Birmingham and Bloomfield, which at that time, Southfield, it was a swamp. Okay. It was an area for people you really didn't want to deal with. But what they did with this small minority and what they have been able to accomplish, and that changed the perspective of how a lot of people see these Khazar Jews.
Okay.
I take, for example, something in the 20th century. They blocked 696 from coming through on the west side for years. And then when they did get it, they said, hey, freeways, the railroads, all these things divide communities. And so you can see two big bridges that on the top looks like a landmass, a park.
Okay.
You don't even know the expressway is there. So their community still has that intactness.
Okay.
And also Arabs are a minority. But they have come here and they have challenges. Like I had an Arab lady tell me, I come from was a product of the civil rights. And I remember I went to work as an analyst in this Fortune 500 company. And all these problems were there. And I was going up, because that's what I was taught, to go up against it. And an Arab lady told me, why can't you just take it? We do. And I'm thinking, because the skin is white. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that you took all this crap and BS and rigmarole. So
it's more than rigmarole.
Oh, well, I'm trying to be positive. But I really think there's something here about civic engagement, collective responsibility, work, and what we know is voting, because that's out of Reconstruction.
Okay.
we know voting, but do we know all the other things that go along with voting?
Well, I mean, your point was, is it or isn't it an illusion, right? Now, a lot of people feel that way. I mean, there's different camps on voting. Some people feel voting is the only way, right? Some people feel that voting can help. If it'll help, I'll take it. If it don't, hey, what difference does it make? And some people feel it makes no difference whatsoever. I mean, Malcolm had a perspective on voting.
Okay, okay. Let's bring that history on in here.
It differed from Frederick Douglass and a lot of other people, but Malcolm just said, let's look at the system. He said, you have the Democrats and the Republicans. You have one that relates to you like a wolf, right? He's going to let you know that he's going to make you his dinner, right? And the other relates to you as a fox. He's going to cuddle up to you. He's going to work with you. But like Malcolm said, if you're not sitting at the table, with a equal opportunity to dine, then you have to be careful that you're not the one that's on the menu. And he would say, one was a wolf, one was a fox.
Okay.
They both had plans on dining on you, making you their dinner. And so what do we get out of this stuff like that? We're still waiting. We're still waiting on, here's the thing about voting through the years.
Yeah.
For the sophisticated voters, every cycle, black people have the option of choosing, even locally and statewide, as well as nationally, choosing between, guess what? Bad and what? And worse, right? Remember the whole thing about Trump, get Trump out of office?
Yeah, well, I've got most of my support from the Republican Party because I come from a work ethic background, and when I was in school, they really liked my writing. I'm a preservationist. You see, I'm gonna hold both of them, Democrat, or that's why I'm wearing red and blue today, accountable. I think as a community, we put all our eggs in one basket.
See?
And see, everybody else, they don't play the game that way. They got a camp in the Democratic Party and they got a camp in the Republican Party. And whichever way it go, they have something ready for each party to take them to the next level. And see, we often think, what I've learned in working with community, with proximity, we don't want it in stages. We want the whole shebang to happen at once.
Right.
And it becomes difficult.
Yeah. So the thing has always been the party line. What is the party line? And do you have any vested interest in the party line? And does the party line have any vested interest in you? And,
good point.
And black folks always have that little problem that their issues and concerns never rise to the table where the party line expresses. Before the vote, I've often asked the question, what qualifies a person to run as a candidate?
Yes.
Because he takes on the party line, because he's, for example, with the Republicans, is he a Trumpite? Or is he anti-Trump? Is the party line anti-Trump? And you say, well, I'm not so worried about him being anti-Trump. Show me where the party line is plus black folks. Show me what you're going to do for the black community who's been waiting for 450 years for some type of input to this system. And you're telling me, well, let's see. We were going to give you reparations, but gosh, we just spent how many trillions of dollars, and Congress is fighting over. They're fighting over their cut of the trillion. Now you'll never get your reparation because we don't have any more money. Here's how it works. They got this big stack of money, always have. Mm-hmm. At the end of the election, now they're going to distribute the money to the winners, to the winning states first. the losing states are second. I don't know where black folks fit in there. Okay, so now this goes to governors of the states. And the governors turn around and say, okay, I got my cut of money. Congress got their cut in terms of their little, what they call pork barrel interest. And everybody got their cut. And now the money goes to the state. And the state says, now we're going to distribute this money. Who do you think they distribute it to?
Well, not us, because we're not the squeaky wheel.
Right.
We're not the squeaky wheel gets the oil.
Okay.
You know,
the oil goes to the corporations. Okay.
Well, and that's another thing. You know, collective work and responsibility. That's why I think it after unity, we're unified. We have a unity if we can really understand it. And that's why this show is called The Oneness of the Quilt. That quilt has a unity. It has authority. But do we use it in the correct way? It's kind of like we are being picked for a baseball team or basketball team. Let's use basketball because that's more popular in our community.
Okay.
And you're the short guy or girl who nobody thinks can dribble that ball or get into go hard in the paint.
See?
And you don't get picked.
See?
You know, you're on the bench. And you're just happy with being on the bench.
You're on the team.
And so that's how we are presenting ourselves. We're on the team, but we just happy being on the bench.
Right. I mean, that's how the Democratic voters are.
Right.
They're on the bench.
And I having this background in public policy, which is so important. That's one thing I do agree with the more science. You got to go back to law.
See?
We got to get out of this love to hear our voice. Okay. Because, see, those people, I'm not judging, but it's our tradition, that oral tradition. I'm going to vote for you, and then I'm going to go down here and talk to you all day. Okay. I'm going to talk. And we know with doing business, I could talk to a manager or a leader, let's say AT&T, servant leadership, all day. But if I don't put it in writing, does it get backed up?
Well, yeah, and you got to document.
Exactly.
You know? But in terms of the oneness of the quilt, is that local? Is that national? Is that statewide? Is that global?
I think for where I've been, it's global. I've connected internationally. I'm not saying it's everywhere, but there's an international presence. There is a national presence. There is a regional presence. And there is a local presence. That's rooting. Not only rooting, supporting. But when are we going to open up and say, okay, yes, an honor. We came this far with our oral tradition and voting. We came far. We did. You know, there are some people from our community who are doing excellent. And I even look at Madam C.J. Walker is one of the reasons why my title for this show is Madam A.S. Inglot, was to honor Madam C.J. Walker, who in 1867, what she did, and she had doors slammed in her face. She had issues within our quilt, our community. You know, basically back then, you know, this high yellow, you know, skin tone was going on. And people looked at her, how can you want to do this with your skin tone?
One of the few.
In our own community. So she had lots of barriers, and but she was dynamic. She didn't give up. She understood business.
See?
And that's, in this system of this country, business is where we lack. We're top heavy with our community having dreams to get in the government. But once you get in the government, your hands are tied to really serve your community because you're a servant for the community. So now you got all your prized people sitting in government. Okay? The hands are tied. The rest of us, if we are not in business, and where's the Black Business Associations and the think tanks? That's what I wanted to talk about. Think tanks. Where are because I wouldn't call the Black Caucus a think tank. Where are our PACs, political action committees? You know, these type of things that help to formulate. And so, and then how we even participate with the urban planning process, which for me is critical of how you get your inalienable rights and your pursuit of happiness, because it's documented. It becomes public policy, which when it goes into the master plan, it becomes law. That's where we, instead of this walking around begging, or pleading, I don't know what we're doing.
Seeking validation.
Okay, thank you. See, I really enjoy you. And I was telling the viewers before you came, I was like, this is kind of hard because this format is to have this dialogue. But I think that's where it is. So, how do we get out of seeking validation, Samuel?
Well, we've got to, remember we talked about the principles of Kwanzaa, but the trying to get into a culture that is designed to destroy you, that is designed to exploit you, that has been built on your backs, that has built capitalism. Any capitalist today would really deal with the issue of free labor and say, ooh, free labor? Well, you know what I could do with free labor? They're arguing over it now. Oh, $15 an hour. Oh, this is going to bankrupt the company. It's going to create inflation. It's going to, for free labor for 200 years, golly. Give me 50 people to work for me free and see if I couldn't build an empire, a dynasty, within 5 years. Not just their labor. When you're talking about black folks, you're talking about their genius, their ability, I should say our ability, look at the labor of the Egyptians. Some people think it wasn't no slaves involved there. They had engineers, they had designers, they had people that figured out how to build a pyramid and a hydraulic system up under it that they still haven't figured out. They're looking at space, they got satellites, X-raying the things, they still haven't figured it out, And
undeniable, our creativity is there. And I think I talked about this when I was in Pontiac dealing with my first nonprofit, and we were supposed to be doing a project for the More Science. I want to give a shout out to Miss Earth C. Bay, who I learned a lot from because I was unfamiliar with More Science. And she, this whole thing of how do we move forward, we have to address that. In which way do we collectively need to move forward? Because there were some barriers there. And it was brought up when I was dealing with a gentleman who told me, great idea for Talbia Inc. But he told me, you'll never implement it without me. This is what he tried to get into. I feel those things are psychological warfare. And I told him, watch me.
Yeah.
Watch me. See? Because first thing I'm not going to do, because I'm not looking for validation from you, I'm not going to tell you my game plan. I'm going to give you just enough for you to understand.
See?
But you're not going to be able to take my words. And I think that's one of the first things we do as creatives.
That was part of Meritus Manumission. When they freed the slaves, in order for them to benefit in any way from the system, they had to give up a few things. And one of the things they had to give up was, first of all, they had to pledge themselves to protecting the life of the master.
Yeah.
Protecting the property of the master. Okay. And then they had to not only inform on the other slaves, or not the other slaves, people weren't slaves, the other black communities, but in turn they had to give up their own copyrights, their own patents, because they couldn't, they had to be sponsored for everything.
Okay.
There was a time when black people couldn't even meet. Matter of fact, when in first churches came out, they had to have a sponsor, a white person sitting there, validating what they had to say. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to take care of some business right here.
See?
You're watching the Oneness of the Quilt live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. I would like to give a shout out to Talbia Inc. That's T as in Tom, A-L-B as in boy, I, Y-A-H-I-N as in Nancy, C.org. It is a social science organization, and we're talking about voting, so it links up. We're ready to start educating in civic engagement, cultural planning, and implement a cultural plan, which is public policy and law. So I want to know.
Tell me about that for a second.
Yeah.
What's going to be the impact? What's the goal? What's the view from the top of the mountain? What do you want to see the accomplishments of?
Well, I'm going to bring up one of I don't know. I know a lot of our viewers or people have heard of Queen Mother, Ocean Dada.
Ocean Dada. Oh yeah.
She passed last year, and I just want to send her light and love. She raised a dynamic son who has done many things on his own. I used to work for Michigan State Housing Development Authority, the executive office, and that's how the money comes down in Michigan.
See?
So this is another area we need to learn about. I remember Ann Arbor mayor said, what you need, go work in housing. And I said, ooh, wait a minute. Whoa, hold it. So I went and first worked in mental illness, supportive housing.
See?
And that got me straight. I went from mental illness, that was the bottom, dealing with supportive housing, straight to the executive office.
Okay.
I learned a lot. But that's how the money comes down from the feds to Michigan. Michigan State Housing Development is this hub. So, but getting back, just wanted to give him a shout out. He is a Chodo. And a Chodo is a gatekeeper. And he's done some phenomenal things.
What's the impact?
I just wanted to announce who he was.
Okay.
But he told me about a conversation he had with his wife, and he said, I think they were talking about like Ann Arbor and Birmingham, or Dearborn. Look how they're planning for the future.
See?
These things. And see, that's what urban planning is.
Okay.
Now I'm getting back. I just wanted to bring that statement in. When he made that impact, I said, okay, he can see that. But I'm trying to help our community understand the power of the urban planning process.
Urban planning for the
urban
future.
Planning is where it is.
Is that a new word, girl?
If you
I
don't
never hear
vote,
it on TV.
Yeah, see, this is what they've been hiding from us.
Well, thank goodness for WJZZ.
Yes, we can get this information out here.
Cool TV.
It is public policy at the core. Because we live here. This is what we see every day. Our local boundaries. This is what we see. And how, again, I brought up the Jews have been kind of banished to the swampland, Oakland County. But look what they did with it. Now, who doesn't want to live in Bloomfield?
See?
Who doesn't want to live in Birmingham?
See?
Who doesn't want to live in Southfield?
Right. Prime land.
Okay, prime.
I don't know about Southfield. Southfield was built on a land, what they call it?
A swamp.
You said a swamp land. They call it a landfill.
Yeah.
My granddaughter.
So was Harper Woods. But these are places we striving to get to. So see how they took something that was not desirable. But they had the vision. And what I'm saying is that we can too. Okay, I'm all for voting. I'm not trying to knock the legislative or the elected official, because you still need somebody to handle that business. But when you hand somebody a collective work on paper, documented, that has been put in the proper format by urban planners. Because it has to be, see, there's a trick to everything. It has to be in that language. So we take the data from the community. We do what we do and put the maps and all that. So here you go. Now we're coming from authority. We're saying this is our demand.
All right.
And law backs us up to say it must be implemented.
All right.
Must be.
All right.
It's future oriented. So now, because it takes time, you got to gather the money. It has to be earmarked. The politicians, the legislations have to do all what they do. And then these things, acts, and how the money is going to be, where the pots. We don't care. That story that Debbie Stabenow gave, that there's not enough money. Well, I don't care. Push somebody else off the boat.
Says that. Yeah.
Push somebody, because we're first in line.
Right.
What we've been through, push another group off the boat.
Right.
That's my perspective.
That's just the fox talking over the wolf. And the wolf saying you ain't getting no money.
But see,
and,
we can deal with the fox or the wolf. Or the wolf. This is what I want to bring to all those people who say it's an illusion.
Mm-hmm.
It say it's an illusion. And that's why we have set up Talbia Inc. We had a think tank meeting about the Dexter Linwood area. We had at the table the Imam from Masjid Wali. We had Grand Sheikh Fuqua. We had other people. But let's talk about what are the socioeconomics. See, we want to talk about that. We want to talk about cleaning up the alley and little things for you. But see, I'm trying to get to that meat.
Especially
I'm not trying to drink milk.
Economics. When you say
Right.
social economics.
So, my question to them was, as CEO of Talbia Inc., what do we want to be in the next 15 to 20 years? What legacy we want to bring for our children?
See?
And then, let's think about the disconnects, the barriers that are there for them to achieve. Now, I want our children to be in the lead on the others, not as a consumer of AI, but as the one pulling the strings for AI. I want them in that technology game. On the side, just not in coding. I want them to go further. I want them to excel. So I asked the question, what are the socioeconomic barriers we need to address, even if it has to be in stages, so we can get what we need for our community? What directions do we want them to go in? Not what is just offered to them. That's why, and Soma Bishara, my nonprofit for literacy and social emotional learning, we have an exploration. I met a lady on my journey. I asked her a question. She said, ma'am, she was so scared. She said, all I know is Gratiot. All I know is Gratiot. What? I said, oh. I said, oh. It just, oh. So, look at the expansion that needs to happen for her. Because all she knows is Gratiot.
Right. They created a smaller district than we have now. We went from citywide action to district action. After a while, they're going to break the districts down into neighborhood actions, and we still ain't going to get nothing done, because every time you break it down, you got other options. You know, what's the biggest district? Oh, downtown district. Okay, what's the next biggest district? Oh, midtown district. Oh, what's the next? Well, let's see. 1,000 neighborhoods, you know, and so.
Yeah, but we've been conditioned that these elected officials are going to do right by us.
Yeah.
And what does that mean? Do we have a standard? I love when we talked yesterday. You said, yeah. What is an illusion? Let's get some. So what is it? Is it a block of cheese and a bag of powdered milk that they're doing for us?
Yeah. What is the criteria for an elected official? You know, is it the fact that a person knows somebody who knows somebody, or is it the fact that this person's name is recognizable, you know, in a large area, or is it the fact that this person has actually accomplished something that has uplifted the community on a consistent basis. They have been successful in making changes that are beneficial to the black community. Those are the people that should be considered first. And so, but what do? We sit up there and play name games. In terms of, look at Detroit. We still struggling to get positive input. Every person that gets in there has been, I don't want to say every person, I'll say every election cycle, somebody's identified as a crook, a thief, or something, to diminish the image of the public servants we're supposed to have. The police not even they destroy their own image with their understanding of their policies and procedures. And when you say something about, well, we ought to defund the police, everybody gets upset about the word defund. You say critical race theory, they get upset about the word theory in critical. Of course, is it a theory or is it just playing out racism in black history? And so, they want to play word games in the media, and they want to censor the positive things that occur in the black community. Like if somebody built 2 black banks right now, it'd be no discussion about it. It would be, the only thing that would bring up a discussion is somebody's background is tainted and makes the whole thing questionable. The media has powerful inferences and what you call exclusions by just not talking about something. Just like when we had the proposal P, we had a situation where you got this process that comes about every 10 years or so, in which you want to improve the validity of the city and the actions that it should be taken, and make the politics transparent, and make the police accountable, things like that on a regular basis. What did they do? They defunded the Charter Commission. Like they don't know what the word defund means. They took away the funding so they could not advertise, what they had accomplished over 2 years in a row of bringing the community in to decide what changes they would make to the city over the next 10 years. And what did they do? And then they turned around and took the money they were supposed to give them to advertise, and they gave it to some of the people you call the pimps in the community that showed up on TV in black and white talking about
the Fox.
There's a problem with P. What's the problem? If I say problem enough times, it won't even matter. And the media says, okay, yeah, we'll play this 1,000 times a day, everywhere, all through the city. And so what happened? They never even they didn't even advertise that there was an election.
Yeah, we many of our people are boxed in by the 4 Ps: the pimp, the pedophile, the politician, and the police.
See, boxed in all 4 corners.
Boxed in, and they not only on the street, but they have arisen in to high levels in management.
They have developed and defined or redefined a role in the community. They're not community builders. The police is amplifying the role of a slave catcher.
Exactly.
And what are the pimps doing?
Yeah, virtual reality. Yes.
Just like the media. They're supposed to be. What do? They advertise in advance.
Okay. Well, I got us hold right here and do some business, because I really believe in business. I believe business is the way out of all this with urban planning process. You're watching the Oneness of the Quilt live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching WJZZ Cool TV, the coolest station in the world. You have any business that you want to give a shout out to?
Well, no real business in terms right now. All I can say is that we're trying to encourage people to think community. Think, why is it that we don't have the type of community that was intended for us? Why is it that other communities flourishing. Well,
because they're working together, collective work.
Yeah, okay, they're
But
flourishing.
we're focused. You said it, and I think it's so
we
clear.
We're
focused on being validated.
Okay.
That's paramount to us. I will live in a slum as long as I'm validated.
Mm-hmm. But the effort has always been to get away from blackness. Everything is get away from blackness. I look at some of the TV shows trying to get away from blackness. Everybody's trying to assimilate and therefore giving up your values that you deem important, that's historical to you, while you're trying to get into this other culture, they're busy erasing your culture. They're going, oh, okay, yeah, okay, we shouldn't talk about that anymore.
Pedophiles have done a great job.
Oh, well, John Conyers put in H.R. 40 almost 20, 30 years ago. While he was in office, he put that in. Nothing has happened. Never came to the floor. It's H.R. 40. Well, that's the issue about reparations. Never came to the floor. Somebody don't want to talk about it. Okay. Somebody's trying to erase the idea that it's even important. Who going to get the reparation? What's it for? And erase it from your mind that reparations aren't important. Nobody's ever gotten reparations in this country, right?
No, but are we prepared as a community?
Jews,
Yeah, are we prepared as a community if we get reparations?
Are we prepared?
Are we prepared to use it for what?
To build the community that will guarantee the quality of life for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
So what way is this going to come? And then another question that I have, we have a lot of people who are melanated, but they're not foundational blacks from this country.
Okay, but I'm
so
just saying,
do they deserve it?
So they're waiting on all the people that's deserving the reparation to die out, and so they can say, "Oh, we couldn't find anybody after 500 years. We couldn't find anybody." They didn't wait. They didn't wait long after the World War II to pay reparations to the Jews and the Japanese. We don't have any black leaders. We have people trying to assimilate into a culture that is destroying them and their people, and all they're doing is taking their, what do you call it? Their three coins of silver. They're saying they're more interested in taking on the values, taking on like entertainers. Okay, we've got 1% of the country is made up of millionaires or people with the wealth that are basically in entertainment, athletics, which is entertainment. They've already declared athletics to be entertainment, gambling, and of which we.
But they sign your name. They sign your name in blood. That they gotta stay within a network that helped them.
Well, why have black athletes making $1 million a year? Being represented by white agents who are telling them where to invest their money and what their values
because that's what they sign contracts, that they have to deal with the circle who brought them in and build that circle. They cannot reach back and build that circle.
Okay, and so that circle is exploiting the 80% of the players that's making all the billions of dollars.
I mean, they didn't come back.
And they're getting their cut.
Right. In our second show, how I got into working with community, I promised my grandmother I would come because she said they didn't come back.
Right.
We helped them to get this level.
So what do we do to change their mindset, and to get them out of a destructive mindset?
Again,
and a destructive
we look at, what was his name, Kaepernick? Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That whole stance, was it a plea to the slave master? Do something about my community. Allow me to do something.
Well, okay, you take.
He took a knee.
Okay.
Who was he pleading with?
And you had the president of the United States saying, "Fire that guy. He's taking a knee. He's disrespecting the military." You ask the question. That's me. You ask the question: why is the military closely and knitted into the fabric of athletics? which is entertainment.
I just truly believe, because we don't have much time, if we change how we communicate with people, it will change how we are dealt with.
Okay.
So we come from a stance of begging. And that wolf and that fox, their nature, okay, well, I'm going to take advantage. Okay. But I have seen it in my lifetime, and I feel I'm blacker than the ace of spades. You come from a different vantage point, you're dealt with differently.
Okay, well, they call that racism and white supremacy. That's what they call it. You know, white folks would say in a soft way, "Oh, it's really just white privilege," you know. But
yeah, because whites aren't going to tolerate this.
You know, you saw. I mean, it's just the mindset. You see that little clip on where they showed the cop arresting the two kids fighting in the lunchroom. Two cops came up and little young black boy and a little white boy were fighting, and they're teens, high school, right? They fighting in the lunchroom and knocking over furniture and stuff, and so the little white boy provoked the whole thing, and actually when the cops come running up, the little white boy was beating on the black guy. Black guy was trying to get a loose. You know, they were switching back and forth, beating each other, but he happened to be beating on the black guy, and and one of the white officers, when he grabbed the white guy, pulled him off and set him down on the couch. And said, "Sit here," you know. And then the other cop grabbed the black boy who was laying on the floor, grabbed him, twisted his arm behind his back, pulled out the thing, put the handcuffs on him, put his knee in his back, and the other lady put a knee on the shoulder, you know, and arrested him, you know. And so you got one. And they said, "Okay, you stand back." What was that all about? What kind of training is that? You know, what kind of, you know, you're talking about how something looks, the appearance, you know, it's appearance of flat out poor training and racism. You know, who's the aggressor?
You know, this topic is so huge. We're out of time. I think we're going to have to finish this up, because I want to talk about what is a democracy and what is a republic. I want to get into more about this system and understanding it. Civic engagement, not just from voting.
Well, we're talking about illusions, you know. So is it really, for black people, is it really an illusion of equality, or does that word even exist? Was it even the intention of equality?
I think we have to start with scope. We have to start with our area and worry about us and what we're doing for us. And all this other nonsense we have to block out.
Yeah, but when you're seeking to assimilate into somebody else's culture, you're looking for equality. You want to be equal.
Yeah,
you want the same privileges. You want the same rights, and you want
we're back at civil rights now, and that burning house that Martin Luther King said he saw.
Smell the smoke.
And, well, you know.
Hot doorknob. You can hear the burning, but you're still trying to get in.
Yes, and with that, we will continue our 6th episode. We're breaking this stuff down about civic engagement, collective work and responsibility, and voting.
And have them give us a call.
Yeah, we want to hear from you. Our number is 313-355-6018. And with that, I'm going to say peace out. Have a great week.
Peace
See you
and
next
love.
time. Peace and love, love and peace.